Hey guys, it's Toby and we're going to be building a gaming PC for £500. Let's go! Alright, first of all we have the AMD FX 8320. The 8320 is an 8-core processor clocked at 3.5 GHz. Now this is one of the best processors in the world right now in terms of price to performance. You get exceptional value for your money here. The 8 cores are going to be great whenever we're doing anything that's CPU intensive, such as playing a CPU intensive game such as Metro Last Light, Arma 3, Battlefield 4, or if you're playing anything that is heavily modded like Skyrim. A lot of that depends on the CPU, and since we have 8 cores, each individually clocked at 3.5 GHz and capable of being overclocked to 4 right out of the box, it's going to perform exceptionally well. Also, if you're doing anything else that's CPU intensive such as video editing and rendering, this is also great for that, again because of the 8 cores. As well as this, the 8320 is a Black Edition CPU, and this means that it can be easily overclocked. You can easily overclock it right out of the box to 4 GHz just by using an option in the BIOS that says Turbo Boost. If you click that, all of your cores are going to be running at 4 GHz, which this CPU is very capable of, and that will make it equivalent to the 8350, which is the step above in this line. Now, coming onto the motherboard, we're going to be using an MSI 970A-G43. As you can see here, I previously bought this motherboard myself, and it is the motherboard that I'm currently using in my own build. It's a really inexpensive motherboard, but that doesn't mean it cheaps out on anything. It's got everything that we need and then some. It's got support for up to 10 USB ports, 4 of which are USB 3.0, 2 of which are supported on the front panel and 2 of which are on the back panel. It's also got support for dual graphics if we ever need to via 2 PCI Express lanes. They're both at X16. It's also got support for the usual stuff like 10100 1000 Ethernet, 6 SATA 3.0 cables. It's also got everything that you'll expect in terms of audio, Realtek HD, 7.1 surround sound, all of that. It's also got support for up to 32 gigs of RAM, and coming onto the RAM we're going to be using 8 GB of G.Skill Ripjaws X. It's clocked at 2133 MHz, which is more than enough for our build, and as well as this you're going to get 2 sticks of 4 rather than 1 stick of 8, which doesn't really make that much of a difference, but it's nice to have anyway. So to put this plain and simply, it's 8 gigs of RAM and it's going to get the job done. Coming on to the graphics cards, we're going to be using an Asus GTX 760. The GTX 760 is a very capable graphics card. It's going to be capable of playing pretty much any game you throw at it. A lot of people ask me if our builds can run Minecraft. Yes, they can. This graphics card will be capable of playing Minecraft at 1080p, 60 FPS with a lot of mods and a lot of texture packs. This build can handle it because of the 8320 and the GTX 760. As well as this, other games such as Metro Last Light, Arma 3, Battlefield 4, FIFA 15, all the other games that people have asked me about, this card can play them at 1080p, at 60 FPS, at least on high settings. If you're playing anything that's in early access like DayZ or Rust or any other kind of game, any performance issues you encounter may be due to the fact that the game is in early access and not optimized for these graphics cards, but other than that you should be able to play pretty much anything on high settings at 60 FPS, 1080p, if not 1080p then 720p, and if not high then at least medium. It's going to perform exceptionally well. If you have any questions about what games this can run other than these ones that I've mentioned already, then please feel free to ask me in the comments. An alternative to the GTX 760 is the AMD R9 280. The one we have here is from Sapphire, and in terms of performance it's going to give you pretty much the exact same performance and the exact same graphical fidelity as the GTX 760. The only differences we have here is that the R9 280 has 3 GB of GDDR5 memory compared to 2 GB on the GTX 760. This means that we're going to be able to play with a few more texture packs and a few more mods here and there, and whenever you're rendering things in a long distance, like if you're messing with your draw distance, your field of view, that kind of thing, the RAM makes a difference. Other than that, you've also got support for AMD Mantle, and AMD Mantle is essentially software that runs on the graphics card itself, which gives you much better performance in certain games. And these games include Battlefield 4, Thief, Star Citizen, Civ Beyond Earth, Dragon Age Inquisition, Mirror's Edge 2, Sniper Elite 3, and the up and coming GTA 5. If you're going to be playing these games that support AMD Mantle, or want to play the games that support AMD Mantle in the future more often than your other games, you're better off going with the R9 280. Now coming onto the hard drive, we're going to be using a 1TB Western Digital Caviar Blue. The 1TB Western Digital Caviar Blue is a standard across basically all of my builds. 1TB is going to be more than enough for our games, our music, our movies, our videos, anything you want. If you need more storage, you can always get a 2TB model. If you need less, you can always get a 500GB model. This build does not include an SSD, however I do have one as an optional component that you may add to this build. You can find it in the product links, which will be the very first link in the description right below. Coming on to the power supply, we're going to be using a Corsair CXM500. It's a 500 watt power supply as the name suggests, and it's also semi-modular. Semi-modular means we have all the cables available to us, but we only need to use the ones that we need. This saves a lot of space in our case, and it's also going to be very efficient considering 500 watts is more than enough for our build, and we can also overclock a little bit because we have enough power to spare. And as well as this, it's also 80+ bronze certified, which means we get clean and efficient power. And finally, coming onto the case, we're going to be using an NZXT Source 210. The Source 210 is a really nice case. It's got support for ATX form factor motherboards, which our one is. It's also got support for USB 3.0 on the front panel, which our motherboard also supports. It's also made of steel, which means it's really structurally integral and it's not going to fall apart on us. It's designed really nicely for cable management, and either of our graphics cards is going to fit in there perfectly without a problem at all. You've also got support for up to 8 hard drives and a couple of SSDs, so you'll be fine on that part in terms of storage. Other than that, it's a really nice case and it's available in white or black. Alternative case options will be listed in the product links, which, as I mentioned before, is the first link in the description right below. And yeah, that's it guys, thanks for listening. Leave us a like if you like this video, leave us some feedback down below in the comments. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them as well in the comments, as I try to reply to everyone as quickly as possible. If you're planning on buying any of the components, please use our links. The first link in the description will take you to our site where you can purchase everything. It seriously helps me a lot, and it really helps the channel a lot if you do it this way, as we get a little bit of commission which I pump back into the channel to produce these videos and improve everything you see. So yeah, don't forget to subscribe and I'll catch you next time.